Ladies and gentlemen, this is the very first episode of the True Three Kingdoms, in which case we will be looking at medieval China during the Three Kingdoms period. We'll be discussing key figures, key people, important battles, name pronunciations, and everything of the like, including what actually happened in history to what's compared to the book. Now, the book itself is about 70% fact, 30% fiction. Many of the ideologies is changed up. The book itself is heavily Shu biased, in which case we will get to them, as well as converting Shu as the heroes and looking at Wei and Wu as the enemies, which case that was not the true story in real history. Liu Bei is considered one of the ideologies and is looked to as the hero of the people, while Cao Cao and Sun Quan were looked as the villains, respectively Wei and Wu. Now, during this video series, we'll be discussing all the way from the Yellow Turban Rebellion, also called as the Yellow Scars Rebellion, whichever way you want to look at it, means the same thing, all the way up to the unification of China, the fall of the Three Kingdoms, the rise of another kingdom, which we will talk about way down the road, founded by a certain Suma family. Now, a lot of the battles and whatnot definitely paved the way for a lot of things as it is now. Once again, this is just the introduction of the video. Like I said, we're going to be talking about some of the key figures. Most notably, at the very beginning, we'll talk about Liu Bei, Cao Cao, and Sun Qian. Notice how there's a difference between Sun Quan and Sun Qian. We'll be talking about their personalities in the book compared to their personalities in real history, as well as some of their top generals, civil officials, and everything like that. But anyhow, please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, turn on notifications. Let's see if we can make this video all the way to the end. Once again, this video is going to showcase all the amazing things that happened, all of the unfortunate things that happened. If you want to read the book, you can actually find it online and able to read it for free. It's threekingdoms.com, THREEKINGDOMS.com. You'll find the whole page, and it has all the way chapters 1 all the way to chapter 120. Alright, it's a long series, but it does give a really good insight on what we'll be talking about through these video series. Let's see. So let's go ahead and start with the one everybody loves, and overall, on a kind perspective from like 1 through 10, we'll be talking about Liu Bei. Now, a lot of people think he'd give 10. Easy. Wrong. Well, about ideology-wise and kindness, we'll give him about a 7. Okay, he was not perfect, not by far. But his name is Liu Bei. Now, Liu Bei was born into a very poor family. His father died when he was young. He helped support his mother by making straw and sandal shoe-like materials. During his early childhood, it is rumored that he climbed up a giant tree looking down at the other kids in his village, and he proclaimed himself, "I am a king and you are all my servants." Liu Bei's uncle took notice of this and helped Liu Bei and his mother financially. As finances built and as education was very important at that time, even through all of the hardships that was already going on, Liu Bei was sent towards schooling, where he met a couple of other individuals, which we will talk about them later on. Well, Liu Bei, much like myself, was not a school person. He didn't much care for it. And in fact, he just looked down on it overall. He preferred to be out there playing rather than learning. He did gain a lot of his education, indeed, but he once again compared to modernization, he'd rather play ball than go to school. Alright, sorry about constantly wiping the sweat. It's hot as hell out here. Anyhow, so Liu Bei, his personality was he did care about the people. He did look forward to their best interest. His policies were pretty good, Not as good as others, but they were up there. Many of the people loved Liu Bei's benevolence ideas and what he wanted to achieve, but Liu Bei at the same time, he could not keep his word for nothing. Alright, a lot of people say that Sun Quan sent Lu Ming to invade Jing province and attack Liu Bei's territories and kill a certain general. Well, Liu Bei on 3 different occasions has promised to return that portion, but every time he always backed down on his word. There were also a lot of other things that once again we'll be talking about as the video and as the series progresses. Now, overall, Liu Bei would probably get a 6.5 to a 7 on how we would look at him compared to today, compared to back then. Now, let's go ahead and move on to our next key persons. The infamous Cao Cao. Now, Cao Cao was the founding ruler who founded the Kingdom of Wei by his son. He never declared himself an emperor, much like to the other people. He just found the foundations of what was to become the Kingdom of Wei. Cao Cao, as a child, he was a troubled child. He was mischievous, would be the proper word. He was born as part of the Xiahou family. We'll talk about them as well. But his father was taken in by a eunuch with the last name of Cao. So that's how we got Cao Cao. Cao Cao grew up. He was extremely smart. He knew how to get things done his way, but also get them done efficiently and get things done as fast as possible while taking every single precaution. Because back then, bandits were everywhere. Bandits, renegades, brigands, gangs, everything like that. They were always rampant in those areas. Cao Cao was an excellent ruler. There's no doubt. In comparison, he could, if Alexander the Great and Cao Cao were at the same time and they were duking it out. Of course, Alexander the Great was conquering areas left and right, but Cao Cao probably could have stopped him and take a stand and prove to Alexander the Great a worthy opponent. Now there are some bad things he's done, just like Liu Bei and Sun Quan. But there's also some very interesting good things. He reformed education. He reformed how land was developed, the dispersing of troops. He treated his own generals like they were part of his own family. His generals, subordinates, civil officials, military officials, everything like that. He was well respected because of the education values and agriculture, as well as just his charisma and his ability to rule. That was always one of his big game base plus. He was, well, like I said, he was part of the Xiahou family, not directly brothers to the 2 most famous, Xiahou Duan and Xiahou Yuan. They were actually his cousins, much like most of his family. Most of his founding armies did comprise of different family members. Some of the bigger names that founded the areas, well, once again, Xiahou Duan, Xiahou Yuan, Cao Hong, Cao Ren, a couple of his sons, and the most ideology is his second son, Cao Pi, in which he would later end the Han dynasty and form the reunification of Han's successor, the Wei dynasty. Now, Cao Cao also had very frequent headaches, which today we now believe was a possible brain tumor issue. It would later play part in his integral death. Now let's move on to the other key official, Sun Jian. Sun Jian was born in the Shu province area, closely in Shapi, Xiaopei, somewhere in that area. Sun Jian was a very charismatic, well-educated individual. He had a twin brother, and he had a lot of family. It's believed that he even came as a direct descendant of the legendary Sun Tzu, the person who wrote The Art of War. He used that a lot to his advantage, and his family had a lot to live up to. Now, Sun Jian, he was pretty well educated, but his main thing that he had going for him was his charisma and his ability to lead people. His very first incident that led him to being given a governmental post, it was a small one, but it would rise up later on. But his very first well-known achievement is when a band of pirates attacked his area where he was posted. He led a bunch of troops and slew their pirate king, their pirate leader. He then was able to chase off the other pirates by making it seem like he had a lot more troops or militia at that time, more of a militia than what he actually had. And of course it scared off the pirates. Pirates left their treasure behind and took off running. Well, that's also when he slew the pirate leader at that time. Pirates were pretty common, and there will be certain well-known pirates who will also appear later on during the videos, including the famous Gan Ning, Zhou Tai, Jiang Qin, and those individuals. This kind of seems like most of the pirates served as the Wu area. Now, Sun Jian, very charismatic. He participated in the Yellow Turban Rebellion against the rebels, along with the likes of Hong Fusang, Zhu Jun, Lu Zi, Cao Cao, Liu Bei, and a couple other Han key officials and military officers. He participated in those battles. He participated in putting down revolts. He also participated in the coalition against Dong Zhuo. Of course, we'll talk about him. He's also a very important individual, and while he is seen as a true tyrant, there's also a few good things about him. But back to Sun Jian. Sun Jian, he suppressed rebellions all the way in Liang province, where the Ma Chao family was resided, all the way over here, while he was all the way down here in personal perspective. So he helped suppress the rebellions in Liang province. He suppressed the rebellion at Changsha, where he will have his first major key position post, sort of say. He would actually be the one to rule Changsha for most of his time, all the way to leading up to his joining forces in the coalition to put down Dong Zhuo. Sun Jian, overall, he had, I want to say, he had either 4 or 5 sons and 1 daughter. And his twin brother, I don't know a whole lot about him, but he was also very important in the foundation of the Wu Kingdom, which will appear later on once again. But overall, these are the 3 important key officials that will lead up to the very beginning of the Three Kingdoms era. Rather, they had direct bloodlines to it, or if they actually created the kingdom itself. Liu Bei created the Shu kingdom and was his very first emperor, though it didn't last very long. His reign only lasted about 2 to 3 years. Cao Cao, he laid the foundations of the Wei kingdom, which would be given to his second son, not his first, but his second. And Sun Jian's second son, Sun Quan, would be the one to find the Wu kingdom, though his older brother Sun Ce would be the one who conquered the areas for the Wu kingdom later on. Now, Shu kingdom would be considered to the west, while Wei would be in the north and northwest, and Wu would be in the southeast and the southern areas. Of course, we have still a lot of other people to talk about as we get to it, but we are getting ready to end this very first video on just figuring out the 3 most important key officials. But like I said, well, the whole goal of this video is to start from the Yellow Turbans rebellion all the way up to the unification of another kingdom, and we'll discuss how that other kingdom, unified China. Now, in terms of strength at the actual Three Kingdoms era, you had Liu Bei of the Shu kingdom was by far the weakest. Most of their military comprised of civil officials and farmers. Now, they did have some of the legendary generals that we all love and know today as Guan Yu, Zhao Yun, Zhang Fei, Ma Chao, Huang Zheng, Zhuge Liang, Wei Yan, Pang Tong, key officers like that. We'll discuss a lot more. Now, they were considered the weakest, but they did have the most strongest generals. We'll say it like that. They had the strongest generals and the most well-known and feared generals. Now, Cao Cao and his second son's Kingdom of Wei was the strongest. They also had a lot of several generals. They had the most territory, a lot comprised of key officials, both military and civil. And they had some of the more promising generals like Zhang Liao, Zhang He, Xiahou Dun, Xiahou Yuan, Li Dian, Yu Jin, Wei Jin, Xu Huang, and a couple of others, which once again we'll talk a lot about them as the video progresses. And of course, the Wu Kingdom in the south and southeast, they were kind of in the middle. They had decent territory. They had more territory than Shu. Shu had the least. They had more territory than Shu, but they didn't have the military might as much as Wei, nor did they have enough land as Wei. But they also had quite a bit of generals, including a certain Zhou Yu, Lu Su, Lu Meng, Lu Xun, Huang Gai, Gan Ning, Leng Tong, and several others. Once again, we'll talk about them as they show up. Now, you also have other warlords at that time. You had certain warlords were Wan Xiao, Wan Shu, Lu Biao, Lu Yao, not Lu Zheng yet, Lu Yao at the beginning. You had Ma Sing, Ma Chao's father, as well as Han Sui, Dong Shuo, Lu Bu, Gong Sung Zhen, Gong Sung Du, Zhang Yang, Zhang Yan, several others. As we progress through the video series and as we talk about how they formed out their own areas, we'll get to that as we get to it. But overall, this video series I hope you will find very interesting, learning between the historical facts versus what's written down in fiction as part of the books. Now, A little bit about myself. I have always been interested in this, and believe it or not, started out as a single game of Dynasty Warriors 2, which would lead to Dynasty Warriors 3, Extreme Legends 4, Extreme Legends Empires 5, all the way up to the upcoming Dynasty Warriors 9. I've also played Romance of the Three Kingdoms 8, 10, 11, and 13. My favorite, by far, was Romance of the Three Kingdoms 10. The Romance of the Three Kingdoms series, the Dynasty Warriors series, all fitted into the same area of the Three Kingdoms era of China. Now, the Three Kingdoms era, while I'm thinking about it, was considered the golden age of chivalry for what would be the European perspective. Many military weapons were invented at that time, including the arbalist, one of Zhuge Liang's personal weapons, the wood ox, several others, siege catapults, battering rams of different sizes, as well as the very first incarnation of bombs using fish oil. But overall, I really hope you do find this as interesting as I enjoy talking about it. Like I said, I've known this stuff since Dynasty Warriors 2 came out, and that was ages ago. I've been trying to learn as much as possible for about, I want to say, anywhere between 17 to 20 years. This has been one of the things I always enjoyed about. And I'm actually a huge fan. I've always been loyal to the Dynasty Warriors series. I'm really looking forward to Dynasty Warriors 9, as it is being the very first one to take the series into a new direction, mostly by showing it as open world. But, please like, subscribe, or dislike, whatever your personal perspective of it is. Like, dislike, notifications, comments. I'll try to respond to as many comments or as questions as I possibly can. Turn on notifications, as I plan to make about, I want to say, anywhere between 80 to 100 videos throughout the whole series, and that's my goal anyway. Most videos will be about 30 minutes to an hour long, depending on the details. Once again, this is just an introduction video, so it's not going to last very long, or nowhere near an hour or so. We'll start by talking about we'll say the Yellow Turban era. We'll talk about Zhang Jiao, his two brothers, the reasons behind the rebellion, as well as the eunuch faction, and the commander-in-chief of the Han Imperial Forces. We'll talk about him a little bit. His name was He Jin. Not a very bright person. Couldn't make up his mind on a lot of stuff. We'll start with the next couple of videos focusing on that, the reasons behind the massive rebellion. The rebellion itself, the Yellow Turbans had roughly about 2.5 million followers, compared to about 300,000 Han Imperial forces. We'll talk about some of the battles. We'll talk about, like I said, He Jin, Han Fusang, Lu Zi, Zhu Jun, Liu Bei, Cao Cao, and Sun Qian. We'll talk about their involvement against the Yellow Turban forces, which was founded by Zhang Jiao, and he had two younger brothers. We'll talk about them as Zhang Bao, Zhang Liang, and two other certain individuals in the Yellow Turbans, which was Zhang Manqing and Bo Kai. We'll talk about some of the people who actually did not live in real history, and we'll talk about how some of those people that lived in real history ended up being replaced by several others who did not appear in real history, such as Pei Wanxiao, Zhao Kang, several other individuals. Once again, I hope you enjoyed this introduction video. We'll be discussing more topics as we move along. we'll try to get videos going every other day or every 2 to 3 days. It's a lot to talk about, especially in fulfilling 1 hour or so. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this introduction video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section, and I'll try to answer as many as I possibly can. And if you have any concerns, or if you want to know what if scenarios, we'll discuss those as well. Helping this video survive the whole series really determines on what you people like. If you people like it, I'll continue to do so. If people don't like it, then kind of what's the point? Anyhow, once again, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time around in the very first official episode 1 of season 1. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.